r/AskReddit. People who had super shitty first encounters with their significant others. How did you end up together? There was this overpass grocery guy who was a massive jerkwad. I said hi to him and complimented his sweet Batman themed sleeve and he just growled at me. I thought, what a fucking dick, and moved about my life. This was March 2013. I see him a few more times and I just ignore him. Fuck him and his fucking rude ass first impression. One day, I go to work really early and hit up the nearby drugstore for a frappuccino despite there being a Starbucks not even 5 feet away. I was super tired, alright. Well, the cashier working was really talkative, and I go with it. She sees my uniform and goes, "Oh, you work at grocery store. You must know who my son is." I ask what his name is, and she tells me. It doesn't ring a bell, and she describes him. Turns out it's the rude fuck. I tell her he was rude to me. She just mentions that he's pretty surly when he wakes up. I just nod in agreement and don't really change my opinion that rude fuck was just a rude fuck. Fast forward almost a year. Rude fuck is reading a book while he waits for work to start. I think it was a classic literature novel. I'm blanking on which one. I comment on it. We make the most minimal of small talk. Turns out he likes to read. So do I. The next time I see him, he's wearing a hoodie from Aladdin the musical. I comment on it. I somehow end up getting his number. The intent was never to start anything, because I was in a 3-year relationship at the time. And surly overnight guy was in a relationship too. We just sort of text one another. 2 months go by. My relationship falls apart. To be fair, it was dying, and there was an ultimatum that was made that I wasn't going to deal with. Sully's relationship had deteriorated too, because she wanted to start seeing other guys. I think the first real indication I had a thing for Sully came from the fact I was slightly jealous his girlfriend came to visit him. Imagine my elation when I heard they broke up. That was May 2014. Our first official date was May 8, 2014 and Sully and I show up wearing nearly identical purple fitted plaid shirts without prior planning. July 2014, I find out I'm pregnant with Sully's kid. I lose the baby September 11, 2014. Sully and I move in together November 1, 2014. Sully proposes June 15, 2015. I became Mrs. Sully October 31, 2016. I got diagnosed with cancer May 28, 2017. Declared remission October 16, 2017. Discover I can't have kids of my own due to chemo in November 2017. Last active treatment for cancer was December 22, 2017. Couldn't have done any of it without Sully. Also, his mom was right. He is a surly fuck when he wakes up. I actually used to live with my now husband as a live-in boyfriend to his ex. They had broken up earlier that year because he, my husband, had found out that the guy was basically stalking me. After a few weeks of me and the creepy guy talking we made it official and I moved into his room. We were in college and my previous roommate situation was shaky to say the least. The house had 6 rooms, so it wasn't like we were forced to be near each other and I really didn't have a better option. My husband and I became mortal enemies. He would open our windows during a rainstorm. I would accidentally leave the door open, so his cat would run out. He would leave pebbles in my tires to flatten them. Shit like that. Eventually between that and realizing that the dude that I was dating was one step down from American Psycho, I decided that it was time to split. I moved out and across town and Ellie ended, scattering them to the winds of a small Michigan college town. 2 years go by. I'm managing a Mexican restaurant in a mall while in between gigs. I haven't heard from any of those guys in a while and I had started working out, so in my mind I looked completely different. I notice this really cute guy walk through the door. I'm pretty much the thirstiest dude you've ever met at this point in my life, so I toss aside everything I'm doing and tell everyone I'm taking the cute guy in the suit. He comes through and gives me a coy smile, something to the degree of AWW, you're cute. I open my mouth and say, me, hey, how's it going today? I'm really digging the suit. Shark skin is a ballsy choice. Him, not bad. Going about the day, yeah no. Being ballsy is kind of my thing. Oh yeah. HMN. Well, ballsy is almost always a good thing in my eyes. Yeah, you should know. still not recognizing the guy and pushing off the weird comment because, well, he's cute. Guys, I dated a stalker. I'm clearly not the most intuitive, okay? I give the dude extra guacamole for free and a large water cup. At this point I'm hopeful, so I just outwardly ask him, so, you wouldn't happen to be doing anything tomorrow night, would you? I'm off and there's a show at Crossroads if you're interested. He literally starts cracking up, like screaming across the restaurant kinda laughter. I'm slowly backing away lamenting that I always pick the crazy ones, when through exasperated breaths he says, you really don't know who I'm, do you? Before he was done with his sentence it all hit me. The original comment, the year of torture, the fact that of course he looks different, he's not stoned/drunk, and he's wearing a suit. Fuck. Guys, I truly don't know how I was smooth enough with literally no blood left in my face and the shock of the situation still coursing through my veins, but I somehow mustered up the line that we both attribute us to being married now. Besides I do of course. Well, it would be a waste of guac to not follow through with this. Tomorrow night. A bit late and long. Shitty encounter which my now husband saved me from, if that counts. TW Forsh scars. In the bar with a few friends, one of these friends decides that he should pursue me. He's flirting and everything, making me a little uncomfortable, but nothing I can't handle. As the drinks flow and more people come into the bar, the warmer it gets, to the point where I take off my jumper. Holy shit. Cue the theatrics from this guy. I have some self-harm scars on my arm, and this guy just jumps on them, like they're the most disgusting thing he's ever seen. He keeps talking about how he could never do that. What did I use? Didn't it hurt etc. Then he starts running his fingers up and down them, remarking on how disgusting they feel, and they feel really bumpy and odd. All the time my other friends are telling him to STFU and leave it. Now I'm nearly in tears at this point, because it's a sensitive thing for me. Normally I wouldn't even take off my jumper or anything, but I had been friends with these people for a long time and this guy had seen them before and never reacted. I'm thinking the drinks had something to do with this shit. So my now DH was actually a friend of a friend, and had been invited along, as he comes in with a round of drinks. He sees what's going on, sees my face and gets mad. Like really angry at this guy. So my now DH whips his jacket off and thrusts this arm at the other guy and goes, oh, you think that's disgusting? What about these? DH also has scars which at the time were worse than mine. The guy looks at now DH and goes pale, reaches out to touch DH, decides better of it, then slides down in his seat to try and hide. I move seats to be next to now DH and the rest of the night was amazing. I even went back to now DH's local bar with him and had an amazing time with his friends. The other guy was pissed that I bonded with now DH and actually went around saying he was going to fight DH when we started dating. Did not happen. DH asked him about it and he immediately backed down. My husband took care of me when I was too drunk at his home. I knew his sister and she'd thrown a party. I was young and dumb. Her older brother found me very sick in the bathroom and took care of me. Apparently I would smile at him over the toilet. Very cute cough. He tucked me in on their couch. I woke up in the morning and no one was around. I grabbed my purse from the bathtub and left. I had no idea who had taken care of me. I then moved to a city 2 hours away. Turns out his sister moved there too. She and I actually became very close friends. Spent all our time together. At the time, her brother was seeing someone seriously, and I was in a terrible on/off shit show. Both of us were unceremoniously cheated on and dumped. His sister made me put on new pajama pants and go to her house, where he was. We looked at each other forlornly and said hi glumly, ha 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 ha. Watched a movie, and when the lights went out, electricity. It was strange. We were immediately attracted, and it was like we knew. But we were on the rebound, so we pushed those feelings away and were friends. He kept coming up to visit, and finally asked me on a date. We continued to attempt to take it slow, and were official within a few months. It's been 10 years, we've been married 5 years, and have a wonderful son, a silly pup and 2 cats, and a great home. He makes my dreams come true. True love is real. Oh yeah, and he told me after a year that yeah, it was him taking care of me that time I drank too much at his house. Haha, what a way to meet your future wife. My best friend was starting to see this guy who she met through WoW, and she dragged me into a group Skype chat with some of his guilders so that I could meet him. Most of the group was incredibly cool, but one of the guys, M, was constantly talking to another about WoW stats and boring me to tears. The chats with this group grew to be a multiple times a week regular thing, and I always butted heads with M opposing political opinions. I thought he was incredibly sheltered and long-winded, etc. Our entire group met up for a cabin camping trip in the summer, and my opinion of him was not changed. So the next spring, he and his family were about to go on this awesome European trip, and it seemed like all he could do was complain about how stressed out about traveling he was. I was so over it, actively avoiding talking to him and shutting him down in chat when I had to be talking to him. He went off on his trip. After he got back to the US, he started texting me and being super friendly to make up for being so intolerable beforehand. I warmed up to him far more than I previously had because he clearly cared enough about me as a friend to go out of his way to mend fences. The next camping trip our group went on, he and I ended up flirting the whole time and eventually hooking up. Been together 2.5 years now. The differing political opinions have been good for both of us, I think. I understand where he's coming from, so I don't automatically think that everyone on his side is a deluded idiot anymore, and vice versa. And turns out that he has some severe travel related anxiety, which explains a lot about his demeanor prior to his trip. He's still long-winded as hell, though, but I'm on the quiet side, so it works out. I was hanging out with a friend, playing Magic the Gathering. He didn't have a large table, so we had spread our playmats on the floor. His roommate came home and just tromped all over my EDH deck. What the hell, man? Why no go around? Why not look where you're going? My poor cards. We didn't get along too great right at that moment. Nothing was really damaged, but my feelings were rather hurt. It seemed unbearable disrespectful. Especially when I knew that this guy was also a Magic player. He knew that cards might be valuable, but walked through the game anyways. I'm pretty non-confrontational though, so when a month or two later my friend wanted us all to hang out, I'll let it happen. I'm so glad. We had a good time and I forgave him for stepping on my cards. We became Facebook friends. Then developed our friendship on Facebook when we discovered that we were the only two people ever awake at 5 AM. Our friendship sprang up very fast from that point. From near strangers to best friends in a month. A year later, we became roommates when I left my ex. A few months after that, we started dating, and I wouldn't trade him for the world. We've been living together 3 years, dating a while less. Not super shitty. June 2014. I had just dropped out of college and was living at my mom's house and working shitty retail. After work one day I went to my friend Tyler's house for a bag of weed. I was infatuated with Tyler, had been all through high school, and he was telling me how he'd been in a car accident a few days earlier where he hit and demolished a deer. We went to the garage to look at his, also demolished, car. As we're looking at it, someone else comes into the garage. Tyler's friend Jordan came over for a bag of weed. They were talking about the car and tools and other man stuff, and me, a 19-year-old girl, was not impressed. Jordan mentioned something about a specific sized wrench and asked me if I even knew what that was, so I went over to the toolbox and grabbed the exact size he asked. I thought he was a total ass, but my best friend who was also there told me as we left that night that he was super into me. I was disgusted. A few weeks later I went to a party at Tyler's house and Jordan was there, wasted. He peed his pants twice that night and a girl I went to high school with had to change his pants both times. A few months later we went on a date, and 3.5 years later we now have a small apartment together. I first met my now husband when I was 16 and hanging out with a group of emo/hard 0 you know the type, kids, smoking weed in a Wendy's parking lot. I barely even noticed him. I'm pretty sure the only thing I said to him was rudely asking him why he was even there if he wasn't going to smoke with us. I ended up having a terrible reaction to something the weed had been spiked with. I collapsed and vomited everywhere. He was the only one who didn't run away and abandon me. He called 911, went and got his mom, and stayed with me in the hospital until my parents arrived. We became friends after that, started dating 2 years later, and got married last May. Neither of us smoke weed, even though it's sort of what brought us together. I'm not with her now, but I once got a girlfriend by pulling her into a bathtub of my own sick. Let me explain. So I had a mate in college that lived in a country bumpkin sort of town that is famous for its number of pubs per capita. I'll let you guess where that is. Anyway, I turn up with this mate, and it turns out they don't take very well to anyone who isn't a Wurzel, so I have a bit of trouble fitting in. I didn't even plan that people from the country wouldn't be able to relate with me, so I did what all 18-year-olds do, got drunk. Once the alcohol started flowing, the conversation started flowing. It's at this moment the girls in the group started to be interested in me because I was from out of town. I used this as a crutch to get in some interesting tidbits. We made our way back to my mate's house, still drinking. At the point it was clear that all the girls had made their mind up about me and had moved on. All but one girl. She was a very posh, very pale, very skinny half French, half English girl. She was giving me the eye all night, so I thought I'd give it a go. We went on some antics around the house to prove I was fun as fuck and that I had a boyish charm about me. During our antics, my mate began having a drunken breakdown, which became the centerpiece of the night. He started screaming "Nobody loves me" and pushing everyone away. He pushed me into the bathtub. I wasn't hurt or anything, I just sort of slow emo fell in. Everyone was laughing, I was laughing. I began to feel ill. I vomited. It was on the side of the plug hole, so I thought it would be all good. Easy to clean sick where most of it will just flow down the plug, and lots of people had puked at that point, so everyone was desensitized to it. Posh girl came over laughing and offered a hand to get me out of the tub. So I grabbed her hand, forgot she didn't have the strength of 1,000 men, and pulled her into the bath with me. It would have been an anime-style romantic scene, other than the fact that she used both hands to steady herself, and those hands landed slap dab in the middle of my chunky ass puke. And because it was so slippery, she was just sliding around on her hands for a good 20 seconds trying to get back up. It went everywhere. We cleaned up and passed out together on the sofa. We dated for a few months after that. Good times. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Please leave a like and subscribe.